friendos, Nick with you. Thanks for joining me on my channel. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Well, here we are. We are down to two teams. It is almost time for the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 is scheduled for Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock here in Manitoba. You can watch that on TNT in the States or Sportsnet and CBC here in Canada. So we're looking at the Vegas Golden Knights, with it, whom probably a lot of people assume would be, at this point, would be playing the Cup Final. It's their second time in 6 years that they've made it, becoming just the 8th team in franchise history to make multiple Cup Final appearances in the first 6 years. So they ended the regular season with a 51-22-9 record, good enough for 111 points and first spot in the Pacific. They've had home ice throughout the playoffs so far, and they're going to have home ice here too, I'm sure, in the final. They took out Winnipeg in 5 games, took out Edmonton in 6 games, took out Dallas in 6 games. Who are they playing? They're facing the Florida Panthers, a team probably nobody thought was going to be making it in the Cup Final, especially after the first 4 games. But we'll get to that. Well, they had a regular season record of 42 wins, 32 losses, and 8 overtime/shootout losses, which is good for 92 points. They literally clinched the second wild card spot on the last day of the regular season, I believe. They came down from a 3-1 deficit to the President's Trophy winning Boston Bruins to win that series in 7. Then they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in 5 games. Then they swept the Carolina Hurricanes. Wouldn't have believed that. I wouldn't have called that myself. Now, before we get to the actual thoughts on the Cup Final, I got a few stats for you. Of course, last time we were here, I gave you the scores in the first 2 rounds. So we'll start with the West Final. Game 1, Vegas taking it 4-3 in overtime. Game 2 is 3-2 in overtime for Vegas. Game 3, it looked like all hope was lost for the Dallas Stars. Vegas took that one 4-0. Then the attempt at the comeback kind of started. Game 4, Dallas took the game to overtime and won it 3-2. Game 5 back in Vegas. Dallas won that one 4-2, but it looked like they ran out of gas as Game 6 ended with a 6-0 shutout victory for the Golden Knights. On the East, well, this one, everyone knows about it by now. Game 1, 4 overtimes, and the Panthers ended up taking that one 3-2. Game 2 didn't quite go as long. It was probably early in the first overtime, but Florida took that one 2-1. Game 3 back in Florida, the Panthers won that one 1-0. It was like 1-0. And then they took Game 4 by score 4-3, scoring with less than 5 seconds left. I remember watching that, and I was beside myself seeing that happen. Some notable stats in that series: Sergei Bobrovsky stopping 168 of 174 shots, 63 of 65 in Game 1 alone, with a .966 save percentage for the series. Those are some impressive stats. And I think, he's on a team like Florida who people have very low expectations about, so people tend to forget just how good a goaltender he really is. And of course, another stat worth mentioning, Matthew Tkachuk scoring 3 of those game winners, including the 2 overtime winners. So yeah. And actually, got a lot of ground to cover really before we get to the Cup Final. And we're looking at the conference finals. We saw both games in each round went to overtime. The first 2 games in each round went to overtime. I thought to myself, was there ever a series in which every game went to overtime. Matter of fact, there was. Now, the record for most overtime games in one series is 5. That's happened 3 times. Most recently, it happened in a 2016-2017 opening round series. It was the Washington Capitals taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now the Capitals won that in 6 games, but 5 of those games went to overtime. Same can be said in 2011-2012, Arizona and Chicago. The Coyotes took that one in 6 games, and again, 5 of them were in overtime. But this first happened 1951. This was the Stanley Cup Final, the Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. Now that went 5 games. Every game went to overtime. That's the only time that's happened in a series where every game went to overtime. One notable thing, of course, about this series, Bill Baricco scoring that game winner in Game 5. It's been, of course, immortalized in the tragically hip song 50 Mission Cap. If you've not listened to it, listen to it. It's a good song. In fact, I remember having the hockey card that was based upon as well. Most overtime games in one playoff year was 28. That happened in 1992-93. Montreal won the Cup. Last Canadian team to win it. In fact, in that same year, Montreal played 11 of those games. That's another record. They won 10 of those 11 games. Now, that record for OT games in the playoff year happened again recently, but 3 years ago, 2019-2020. Of course, that one, I don't know how well you can see it, but I have put an asterisk beside that because that includes the Stanley Cup qualifying round because they were in that playoff bubble, if you will, because of the pandemic. I've counted all the overtime games in this series, in these playoffs. Currently, we are at 23, and that is good enough for 9th in the all-time list. So a lot has happened in these playoffs, and there's still between 4 and 7 games left to play. So with that, let's go back to Vegas and Florida, shall we? Their season series, they split. They played 2 games. They played 2 games. They each won 1 game. And these are both home wins, by the way. January 12th, Vegas took it 4-2 in Vegas. And March 7th in Florida, the Panthers took it 2-1. Well, that being said, I guess I should make my prediction at this point. Now, I doubted Florida against Boston. I doubted Florida against Toronto. I doubted Florida against Carolina. And of course, I was wrong on all 3 counts. As much as I kind of want Vegas to win, I think Florida's going to. What's more, I'm not just predicting that Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup. I say Sergei Bobrovsky is going to win the Conn Smythe. Just remember, you heard it here first, people. But anyway, if you guys have your predictions as to who's going to win, how the series is going to go, even if you have thoughts as to who's going to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, let me know in the comments section below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to Nick Adams on YouTube and click on that bell so you'll be notified of any future uploads. We'll see you again.